Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaskar and welcome to Soothing Harbour. Today we journey deeper into the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita as we explore Chapter 3, known as Karma Yoga, the Yoga of Action. In this chapter, Lord Krishna continues to guide Arjuna, providing profound insights into the nature of duty, selfless action, and the path to spiritual liberation. Imagine the vast battlefield of Kurukshetra, where Arjuna, the warrior prince, stands surrounded by the clamor of impending war. Conflicted and seeking clarity, he turns to his divine charioteer, Krishna, for guidance. Krishna, with infinite compassion and wisdom, begins to illuminate the path of righteous action. In Chapter 3, Krishna introduces the concept of Karma Yoga, encouraging Arjuna to embrace his duty as a warrior without attachment to the fruits of his actions. He explains that action is inevitable and necessary for the sustenance of the world. By performing one's duties selflessly and with devotion, one can attain spiritual growth and inner peace. Krishna emphasizes that all actions should be performed as a form of worship dedicated to the divine. This approach transforms mundane tasks into sacred acts, elevating the performer beyond the confines of ego and desire. He teaches that the wise act with detachment, setting an example for others to follow. Through vivid analogies and timeless wisdom, Krishna reveals that it is better to perform one's own duties imperfectly than to perform another's duties perfectly. He stresses the importance of aligning one's actions with their inherent nature and responsibilities, as this leads to harmony and fulfillment. As we delve into the recitations of Chapter 3, let us reflect on the profound teachings of Karma Yoga. These verses guide us to live with purpose, integrity, and devotion, transforming our daily lives into a path of spiritual awakening. Join us on this enlightening journey through Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. May Krishna's wisdom illuminate your path and inspire you to live a life of selfless service and inner peace. Arjuna said, Krishna, if you consider knowledge as superior to action, why then do you urge me to do this dreadful action, Kesav? You are, as it were, puzzling my mind by these seemingly conflicting expressions. Therefore, tell me the one definite discipline by which I may obtain the highest good. Shri Bhagavan said, Arjun, in this world, two courses of sadhana, that is spiritual discipline, have been enunciated by me in the past. In the case of Shankha Yogi, the sadhana proceeds along the path of knowledge, whereas in the case of the Karma Yogi, it proceeds along the path of action. Man does not attain freedom from action, that is the culmination of the discipline of action, without entering upon action. nor does he reach perfection, that is, culmination of the discipline of knowledge, merely by ceasing to act. Surely, none can ever remain inactive even for a moment, for everyone is helplessly driven to action by modes of Prakriti, nature born qualities. He who outwardly restraining the organs of sense and action sits mentally dwelling on the objects of senses, that man of deluded intellect is called a hypocrite. On the other hand, he who controlling the organs of sense and action by the power of his will and remaining unattached undertakes the yoga of selfless action. Through those organs, Arjun, he excels. Therefore, do you perform your allotted duty, for action is superior to inaction. Desisting from action, you cannot even maintain your body. Man is bound by his own action, except when it is performed for the sake of sacrifice. Therefore, Arjun, do you efficiently perform your duty, free from attachment, for the sake of sacrifice alone. Having created mankind along with Yajna at the beginning of creation, the Creator Brahma said to them, "You shall prosper by this. May this yield the enjoyments you seek. Foster the gods through this sacrifice and let the gods foster you. Thus, each fostering the other selflessly, you will attain the highest good." Fostered by sacrifice, the gods will surely bestow on you unasked all the desired enjoyments. He who enjoys the gifts bestowed by them without offering their share to them is undoubtedly a thief. The virtuous who partake of what is left over after sacrifice are absolved of all sins. Those sinful ones who cook for the sake of nourishing their bodies alone partake of sin only. All beings are evolved from food. Production of food is dependent on rain. Rain ensues from sacrifice, and sacrifice is rooted in prescribed action. Know that prescribed action has its origin in the Vedas, and the Vedas proceed from the indestructible, that is God. Hence, the all-pervading infinite is always present in sacrifice. Arjun, he who does not follow the wheel of creation, thus set going in the world, that is, does not perform his duties, leads a sinful and sensual life. He lives in vain. He, however, who takes delight in the self alone and is gratified with the self and is contented in the self has no duty. In this world, that great soul has nothing to gain by action, nor by abstaining from action, nor has he selfish dependence of any kind on any creature. Therefore, go on efficiently, doing your duty at all times without attachment. Doing work without attachment, man attains the supreme. It is through action without attachment, along with Janaka and other wise men, reached perfection. Having in view the maintenance of the world order too, you should take to action. For whatever a great man does, that very thing other men also do. Whatever standard he sets up, the generality of men follow the same. Arjun, There is no duty in all the three worlds for me to perform, nor is there anything worth attaining, unattained by me, yet I continue to work. Should I not engage in action scrupulously at any time, great harm will come to the world. For, Arjun, men follow my way in all matters. If I ever cease to act, these worlds would perish. Nay, I should prove to be the cause of confusion and of the destruction of these people. Arjun, as the unwise act with attachment, so should the wise man, with a view to maintain the world order, act without attachment. A wise man established in the self should not unsettle the mind of the ignorant, attached to action, but should get them to perform all their duties, duly performing his own duties. In fact, all actions are being performed by the modes of Prakriti, that is primordial nature. The fool whose mind is deluded by egoism thinks, I am the doer. However, he who has true insight into the perspective spheres of gunas, that is the modes of Prakriti, and their actions, holding that it is the gunas in the form of the senses, mind, etc., that move among the gunas, that is the objects of perception, does not get attached to them, Arjun. Those who are completely deluded by the gunas or modes of Prakriti remain attached to those gunas and actions. The man of perfect knowledge should not unsettle the mind of those ignorants of imperfect knowledge. Therefore, dedicating all actions to me with your mind fixed on me, the self of all, freed from desire and the feeling of miyam, and cured of mental agitation, fight. Even those men who, with an uncavailing and devout mind, always follow this teaching of mine, are released from the bondage of all actions. But they, however, who, finding fault with this teaching of mine, do not follow it, take those fools to be deluded in the matter of all knowledge as lost. All living creatures follow their tendencies. Even the wise man acts according to the tendencies of his own nature. Of what use is restraint by force? Attraction and repulsion are rooted in all sense objects. Man should never allow himself to be swayed by them, because there are the two principal enemies standing in the way of his redemption. One's own duty, though devoid of merit, is preferable to the duty of another well performed. Even death in the performance of one's own duty brings blessedness. Another's duty is fraught with fear. Arjuna said, Now impelled by what, Krishna, does this man commit sin even involuntarily, as though driven by force? Sri Bhagavan said, It is desire begotten of the element of rajas, which appears as wrath. Nay, it is insatiable and grossly wicked. Know this to be the enemy in this case. As the fire is covered by smoke, mirrored by dust, and embryo by the amnion, so is knowledge covered by desire. And Arjun, knowledge stands covered by this eternal enemy of the wise, known as desire, which is insatiable like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intellect are declared to be its seat. Covering the knowledge through these, it that is desire deludes the embodied soul. Therefore, Arjun, you must first control your senses and then kill this evil thing which obstructs Gyan, that is knowledge of the Absolute or Nirguna Brahma, and Vigyan, knowledge of Sakara Brahma or manifest divinity. The senses are said to be greater than the body, but greater than the senses is the mind. Greater than the mind is the intellect, and what is greater than the intellect is he, the self. Thus Arjun, knowing the self, which is higher than the intellect, and subduing the mind by reason, kill this enemy in the form of desire that is hard to overcome. Thus, in the Upanishads sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the third chapter entitled Karma Yoga, or the Yoga of Action. As we bring our journey through chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita to a close, let us take a moment to reflect on the profound teachings of Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. Lord Krishna, with his infinite wisdom, has illuminated the path of selfless action, guiding us to perform our duties with devotion and without attachment to the outcomes. Krishna's message is clear. It is through selfless service and dedication to the divine that we transcend the ego and align our actions with our higher purpose. By embracing our responsibilities and performing them with integrity, we contribute to the harmony and well-being of the world around us. Krishna teaches us that true freedom is found not in renunciation of action, but in renouncing the desire for the fruits of action. This powerful lesson encourages us to live with purpose and to see our daily tasks as sacred offerings, transforming every moment into an opportunity for spiritual growth. As we go about our lives, let us remember the wisdom of Krishna's words and strive to act with selflessness and devotion. Let us seek to serve others, recognizing that in doing so, we serve the divine within all. Thank you for joining us on this journey through chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. May these teachings inspire you to live a life of purpose, integrity, and inner peace. Stay tuned to Soothing Harbour for more spiritual insights and transformative wisdom from the Gita. Hari Om Tat Sat.